You don't drink to relax. You drink to leak authority. Every sip advertises poor self-command, and predators treat that weakness like an open invitation. You've been sold a childish story. Alcohol is fun, social, a reward, a harmless ritual that turns stress into laughter and strangers into friends. That story exists for one reason. It makes you manageable. Because the Machiavellian lens is simple, power is control made visible. And alcohol is the opposite, control dissolved in public. You don't just drink liquid, you drink permission. Permission to slip, permission to loosen, permission to be less precise with your words, your posture, your decisions. And the moment you become less precise, you become easier to read, easier to influence, easier to rank. That's the first frame shift. Alcohol is not a private vice. It's a public signal. People watch what you do when you think you're off duty. That's when they learn what you actually are. Your discipline isn't proven in your ambitions. It's proven in the moments you could lose control and choose not to. Every time you drink, you broadcast one of two messages. I can handle poison and still stay sharp. Or more commonly, my self-command is negotiable. Most men are not drinking because they like the taste. They drink because they like the social mask it gives them, the excuse to be careless without responsibility. They want plausible deniability for weakness. I was drunk. I didn't mean it. I don't remember. That is not relief. That is self-erasure. And in a power game, self-erasure is suicide. Because what is power in real terms? Not motivation, not confidence, not speeches. Power is the ability to stay intact while others get emotional. Power is the ability to maintain your internal chain of command when pressure, temptation, and social manipulation arrive. Alcohol breaks that chain of command from the inside. It makes you talk when you should observe. It makes you joke when you should measure. It makes you trust when you should test. It makes you vulnerable when you should stay unreadable. And the world doesn't forgive that. The world records it. Men love to pretend their drinking is invisible. It isn't. It leaves fingerprints. Your voice changes. Your eyes soften. Your boundaries blur. Your standards lower. Your tolerance rises for disrespect, for bad deals, for bad people. Alcohol doesn't only reduce pain, it reduces discernment. And discernment is what keeps predators away. Here's the hard truth. You don't live in a fair world. You live in a world of selection. People are constantly selecting who to respect, who to use, who to ignore, who to trust with leverage. And nothing tells them more about you than what you do when the lights are low and the excuses are ready. Alcohol is an excuse factory. It turns your mistakes into accidents, your weakness into a moment, your compromise into just one night. But the Machiavellian mind doesn't judge you by your intentions. It judges you by your leaks. Loose tongue, that's a leak. Loose boundaries, leak. Loose judgment, leak. Loose discipline, leak. And when you leak, someone collects, because alcohol doesn't just make you weaker, it makes you predictable. And predictable men are governable men. That's why alcohol has always been tied to control, from ancient courts to modern offices. The man who drinks is the man who can be nudged. The man who drinks is the man who can be baited into a confession, a fight, a text he can't undo, a decision he'll regret. The man who drinks is the man whose no can become a yes with enough pressure and a few more rounds. So stop calling it relaxation. Call it what it is, a voluntary surrender of command. And once you see it that way, the entire culture around drinking starts to look like a machine, designed to blur you, soften you, domesticate you, and make you socially compliant. They call it bonding. Often it's just mutual weakness disguised as friendship. The lens shift is complete when you understand this. Alcohol isn't a drink. It's a signal you're willing to be less sovereign for pleasure. And predators don't need more than that. Alcohol doesn't just lower inhibitions. That phrase is a lullaby. It makes sabotage sound cute. What alcohol actually does is remove the governor from your mind, the part that says wait, measure, do not reveal, do not react, do not sign away leverage. In Machiavellian terms, your mind is a chain of command. Orders move from the top, strategy, long-term interest, risk calculation, down into action. Alcohol flips that structure. It puts impulse closer to the steering wheel and forces strategy into the back seat. That's why the same man who's disciplined at noon becomes talkative at midnight. Not because he changed, because the internal officer who controls him got drugged. Mechanism 1. Inhibition collapse. The gate is gone. Inhibition is not weakness. It's intelligence wearing armor. It's the pause before speaking. The ability to feel an emotion and still choose the correct move. The restraint that keeps your private thoughts private. Alcohol attacks that first. So you start speaking before you've scanned the room. You start reacting before you've assessed the target. You start being honest when honesty is actually self-exposure. And self-exposure is the currency predators live on. You think you're opening up. They think you're handing them a map. Mechanism 2. Judgment distortion. Risk looks smaller than it is. A sober mind sees second-order consequences. What this decision will cost tomorrow, how it will be remembered, who will use it. Alcohol compresses your time horizon. Now the only thing that feels real is the moment. Comfort now, pleasure now, approval now, revenge now, one more drink now. That's not relaxation. That's short-term capture, the easiest way to control a man. Keep him chasing the next sensation, and he won't defend his future. You'll notice it in the classic failures. Texting when you should be silent, agreeing when you should delay, spending when you should calculate, escalating conflict because you feel disrespected, confessing things you should never confirm. Alcohol turns I should into I want. And want is easy to manipulate. Mechanism 3. Emotional amplification. Tiny triggers become big reactions. Alcohol doesn't erase emotion. It inflates it. Small slights become personal attacks. Mild jealousy becomes interrogation. Minor insecurity becomes performance. A quiet room becomes, they're judging me. That's why drinking creates conflict, even when nothing happened. It lowers your tolerance for ambiguity and raises your need to control the narrative. You start trying to read faces, interpret tone, demand reassurance, assert dominance, defend pride. And here's the humiliating part. The more you do that, the more the room sees you as unstable. A man who can be emotionally moved is a man who can be steered. Mechanism 4. Memory gaps and denial, perfect cover for exploitation. Alcohol damages recall. Not always dramatic blackouts, sometimes just fog. That fog is a gift to anyone who wants to manipulate you, because now they can rewrite what happened. They can frame you. They can claim you said something. They can deny what they did. They can turn your uncertainty into their control. A sober man has evidence, clarity, timeline, certainty. A drinking man has confusion, and confusion is easy to own. Mechanism 5. Social dependency loops. You need the ritual to enter the room. Finally, alcohol doesn't only change your brain. It changes your identity. It teaches you. This is how you become social. This is how you become confident. This is how you belong. That's the deepest hijack. Because once you associate alcohol with entry into connection, you become governable through pressure. Come on, don't be boring. Just one. Why are you acting superior? And now refusing isn't just refusing a drink, it becomes refusing the tribe. That's the trap. Alcohol makes your sovereignty look like arrogance and your discipline look like insecurity. So the mechanism is complete. Alcohol weakens inhibition, distorts judgment, inflates emotion, fractures memory, and builds dependency through social rituals. In war terms, it doesn't kill you. It disarms you, then invites you into the battlefield smiling. And the man who enters a battlefield disarmed doesn't lose by accident. He loses by design. Not every man drinks for the same reason, and not every observer is neutral. The naive man thinks alcohol is a personal choice, taste, culture, celebration. The Machiavellian man understands it as a sorting mechanism. It reveals who can govern himself, who needs numbness, and who can be pushed with a smile. So we're going to map the room, because alcohol doesn't just change you, it changes the power distribution around you. 1. The social performer, status drinker, he drinks to look normal, to look easygoing, to avoid being the odd one out. He's not chasing pleasure, he's chasing acceptance. That makes him obedient. The social performer is the first to say yes when he should pause. He laughs too hard. He stays too long. He spends too much. He agrees to plans he doesn't want. Why? Because refusing feels like social death. This man is the easiest to steer. You don't need to threaten him, you just need to imply exclusion. Tell, don't be boring. And he folds. 2. The escapist, numbing specialist. He drinks to escape the weight of his own life. Stress, regret, shame, boredom, he doesn't solve it. He dissolves it for a few hours. Then it returns larger. The escapist becomes emotionally leaky. Confessions, self-pity, nostalgia, rage. He thinks he's opening up, but he's actually advertising instability. Predators love the escapist because he can be offered relief in exchange for compliance. Give him comfort, and he will surrender standards. Tell. He talks about needing it. 3. The ritual loyalist, tradition anchor. He drinks because that's what men do. Because his father did. Because his friends do. Because the culture says it's normal. He doesn't realize he's being governed by a script written by dead people and peer pressure. He defends drinking like it's identity. Because it is. Not his true identity. The identity assigned to keep him domesticated. When challenged, he gets offended. So you think you're better than us? That question is a chain. Tell. He feels attacked when you refuse. 4. The overconfident controller, high-tolerance ego. This man believes alcohol doesn't affect him. He brags about tolerance like it's strength. I can handle it. He treats poison resistance as discipline. But high tolerance doesn't mean you're unaffected. It means you've trained your body to survive damage while your mind still gets compromised, just more subtly. He becomes a long-range liability. Slow degradation, quiet mistakes, hidden dependency, poor sleep, reduced sharpness. The overconfident controller is dangerous because he overestimates his sovereignty and underestimates the leak. Tell, he mocks moderation. 5. The dependent, governed by craving. This man drinks because his system demands it. He can't sit in discomfort without reaching for a chemical exit. His life becomes a cycle. And once craving governs you, you are not sovereign. You are a managed asset. Anyone can bait you, destabilize you, or control you by controlling access to your relief. This isn't morality, it's command and control. Tell, he negotiates with himself constantly. Now the second group, the watchers, because drinking doesn't only reveal the drinkers, it reveals the predators circling them. 6. The opportunist observer, collector. This one doesn't drink much, or drinks lightly. He watches. He pays attention to what people admit, who gets emotional, who loses boundaries. He remembers everything. He's building leverage while everyone else is having fun. He'll later use what he learned. In office politics, in relationships, in social circles, in money deals, in reputational warfare, he doesn't need to attack you tonight. He just needs you to leak tonight. Tell, he asks innocent questions when you're softened. 7. The saboteur, trigger puller. This one pushes you toward one more drink, not because he wants you happy, because he wants you compromised. He'll toast you, hype you, dare you. Come on, man. He wants you louder, sloppier, more reactive. Why? Because your fall makes him look stable, and your mistakes create entertainment and advantage. Tell. He pressures, then laughs when you slip. So here's the cold read. Alcohol is a sorting tool. It separates men into two categories, those who remain in command and those who become controllable through pleasure. And the moment you understand these archetypes, you stop treating going out for drinks as harmless. You start seeing the room as it is, a marketplace of leverage where most men are selling their self-control for temporary comfort while someone else is buying. Power has one sacred rule: never lose command in public. That rule isn't modern, it's ancient. Courts, armies, empires, criminal crews, corporate boards, different uniforms, same law. The man who can't control himself becomes a liability, and liabilities don't get promoted. They get used, contained, or removed. So when you bring alcohol into your life, understand what you're doing in strategic terms. You're bringing a controlled destabilizer into your system. You're choosing to weaken yourself in environments where other people are constantly hunting for advantage, whether they admit it or not. History doesn't romanticize intoxication in leadership. It tolerates it in peasants. It punishes it in commanders. Why? Because intoxication creates three deadly outcomes: leaks, mistakes, and dependency. 1. Loose tongues collapse empires. The first danger is always information. A drunk man reveals what a sober man protects. Insecurities, resentments, plans, secrets, attraction, jealousy, grudges, weaknesses, and the most humiliating part is that he reveals it thinking he's being real. He mistakes exposure for authenticity. In power environments, authenticity is not a virtue, it's a vulnerability. You don't win wars by being real. You win by being unreadable. That's why serious operators, real strategists, control their mouth. They control their face. They control their tempo. They don't give people free intelligence. Alcohol turns you into an open file, and open files get exploited. 2. Bad decisions don't need to be big to destroy you. Most men imagine catastrophe as dramatic: a fight, a crash, an arrest. But the real damage is subtler and more permanent. A single sloppy moment can become a permanent label, and labels are heavier than facts. Here's human nature. People don't remember your discipline. They remember your slip. Alcohol manufactures slips. And in a world where reputation is currency, one slip can bankrupt you socially. 3. Alcohol is the oldest domestication tool. Look deeper. The system doesn't just allow alcohol, it celebrates it. It makes it a ritual: weekends, holidays, sports, winding down. Why would a system encourage something that reduces self-control? Because self-controlled men are difficult to govern. A disillusioned male audience, 18 to 45, already knows the truth. Society doesn't reward your loyalty, it rewards your usefulness. And a man who drinks regularly is more useful because he's more compliant, more distractible, more emotionally volatile, more financially drained, less disciplined. Easier to sell pleasure to. Alcohol is not just a substance. It's an economy. It extracts money, time, attention, and future potential, then hands you a temporary mood as payment. That is a bad trade. And humans love bad trades when they're socially approved. 4. Group dynamics punish the sober man unless he's dominant. Here's where most men fold. Pressure. Refusing alcohol makes you stand out, and standing out invites testing. The tribe demands conformity because conformity keeps the group stable, so they'll shame you. Don't be boring. Live a little. One drink won't kill you. Why are you so serious? Those lines aren't jokes, they're compliance tests. They want to see if you can hold your frame under social heat. Weak men break and comply. Strong men don't argue, they don't justify, they don't give speeches. They simply remain in command, quietly, consistently. And once the room feels you cannot be moved, the pressure stops. Because human nature respects immovable standards more than it respects explanations. 5. The hidden consequence. You become emotionally purchasable. Alcohol doesn't just weaken your mind. It trains your psyche to associate relief with consumption. That means your mood becomes something you buy. Your calm becomes something you rent. And once your calm is rented, it can be priced, delayed, manipulated. The man who needs a drink to unwind is a man whose nervous system has been colonized. He's not sovereign, he's managed. So the deeper threat is not health. It's not morality. It's not even addiction. The deeper threat is that alcohol teaches you a governing law. When life pressures you, numb yourself instead of sharpening. That law makes you predictable, and predictable men are easy to rule. That's why the Machiavellian conclusion is cold. Alcohol is not recreation. It's self-sabotage packaged as culture, and culture is often a cage. If alcohol is a vulnerability, then your response can't be try harder. That's how weak men talk. Willpower, motivation, guilt, promises made on Monday and broken on Friday. A Machiavellian response is different. You don't rely on mood. You design a system. You remove friction from discipline and add friction to weakness. You make sovereignty the default. This is the sovereignty protocol. It's not moral, it's strategic. Rule 1. Stop negotiating with the tribe. Most men drink because they fear the social penalty of refusing. They don't want to look boring. They don't want the questions. They don't want the jokes. That means the tribe owns their behavior. So the first move is not quitting alcohol. The first move is ending the debate. When offered a drink, your language must be short and final. No, not tonight. I'm good. No reasons, no stories. No, I'm trying to cut back. That line is weakness. It invites persuasion. The less you explain, the less they can attack. If they push, you don't defend, you redirect. Have yours. I said no. Drop it. Cold, calm, no smile. Because your frame is being tested. The drink is not the issue. Your sovereignty is. Rule 2. Replace the ritual, not the substance. Men fail because they try to delete alcohol without replacing what it functionally provided. A transition, a reward, a switch off, a social tool. You don't need the chemical. You need a controlled ritual that signals end of work, start of recovery without compromising command. Your replacement ritual must meet two conditions. It must be available anywhere. It must keep you sharp. Examples in principle, not therapy. A non-alcoholic drink in hand to end offers, a structured exit time, a pre-planned activity after social events, a 2-hour cap rule. The point is not health. The point is control. Ritual is power when you own it. Ritual is slavery when it owns you. Rule 3. Control the environment like a war planner. A sovereign man doesn't hope. He'll resist temptation in hostile territory. He chooses the terrain. If you're constantly in bars with drinkers, late nights, random invitations, then you're not struggling with alcohol. You're struggling with bad terrain. So you set terrain rules. Don't start nights in high-pressure environments. Don't stay when the room shifts into intoxication. Don't just hang with men who need you weaker to feel normal. Don't attend events where the main activity is losing control. This is not isolation. This is selection. Every environment trains you. Choose training grounds that sharpen you, not soften you. Rule 4. Use scarcity to break social pressure. Pressure comes from availability. If you're always there, always down, always easy to pull into, one more round, then you are a social resource. And resources get consumed. So you become scarce by design. Arrive later, leave earlier, maintain a hard exit time, keep commitments outside the drinking environment. Scarcity does two things. It reduces exposure to temptation. It increases perceived status. Men respect boundaries they can't move. Rule 5. Install a hard consequence for yourself. This is where discipline becomes real. A sovereign doesn't wait for regret. He presets cost. You choose a consequence that triggers immediately when you break your standard, something you don't enjoy paying. Not punishment for morality, cost for governance. This converts drinking from a treat into an expensive decision. And once drinking is expensive, your brain stops romanticizing it. Rule 6. Upgrade your identity in public. Stay sharp, stay unreadable. The ultimate strategy is not sobriety. It's unreadability. When you're the man who stays controlled while others loosen. You hear what they reveal, you observe what they hide, you watch who collapses, you see who pressures, you exit. Before chaos, you become the stable axis in the room that is power. And it changes how people treat you. They stop offering, they stop teasing, they stop testing, because they can feel you're not part of the herd. Here's the core of the sovereignty protocol: refuse without explanation, replace the ritual, control terrain, use scarcity, preset cost, stay sharp. That's how you win without fighting. You don't tell the world you're disciplined. You make the world adapt to your standards. Alcohol isn't your enemy because it tastes good. It's your enemy because it offers an identity. The man who needs something external to soften life. The man who can't stay in control without chemical permission. That identity is contemptible, not morally, strategically, because anything you need can be used against you. If your calm is rented, someone can raise the price. If your relief is purchased, someone can delay it. If your confidence comes from a bottle, then your confidence is not yours. In Machiavellian terms, you have made yourself governable through pleasure. So the real work is not removing alcohol. The real work is killing the identity that reaches for it. The old identity. The negotiated man. This is the man who negotiates with himself all day. I deserve it. Just tonight. I'll control it. I had a hard week. Everyone does it. These are not reasons. They are permissions. And permissions are how weakness stays respectable. The negotiated man lives by one rule: discomfort must be escaped, not mastered. He treats tension like poison rather than training. That's why he drinks. Not for fun, for avoidance. He avoids the silence that forces him to face his own choices. He avoids the edge that would sharpen him. He avoids the discomfort that would reveal who he really is. Alcohol becomes a soft prison, comfortable, familiar, socially approved. And prisons don't need bars when the inmate loves the routine. So you execute identity death. Identity death, step 1. Stop calling it relaxation. Words shape self-perception. Self-perception shapes behavior. If you call drinking relaxing, you make it noble. If you call it what it is, numbing, you strip it of romance. A sovereign doesn't numb. He recovers with intent. Recovery is deliberate. Numbing is surrender. That distinction matters because the bottle wins by being seen as a reward. You must see it as a concession. Identity death, step 2. Replace emotional comfort with strategic pride. Most men stop drinking by fear. That fails. Fear fades. What replaces it is pride, but not motivational pride. Strategic pride. The quiet satisfaction of being the one man in the room who cannot be moved. You don't quit alcohol. You join a higher class. Men who remain in command under temptation. That's not health talk. That's hierarchy. The herd drinks to belong. The sovereign refuses to be managed. Identity death, step 3. Become the man who tolerates discomfort without seeking a sedative. This is the core replacement. The new identity doesn't run from discomfort. He uses it. Discomfort becomes training signal. Boredom becomes focus stress, becomes execution anger, becomes silence loneliness, becomes selection pressure, becomes posture. Most men treat discomfort like an emergency. That's why they drink. They need escape valves. A sovereign treats discomfort like weather. Real, temporary, not a reason to surrender command. Identity death, step 4. Kill the social innocence. In you there's a childish belief hiding behind alcohol culture, that people are just having fun, that nothing counts, that no one is watching. That's innocence. Innocence gets exploited. The moment you stop drinking, you see the room differently. Who needs everyone equally weak, who pressures others to comply, who gathers secrets, who uses looseness as leverage, who becomes aggressive when intoxicated. Sobriety is not purity. It's vision, and vision changes your choices. You stop entering environments built for leakage. You stop giving predators data. Identity death, step 5. Declare a non-negotiable standard. Internally, don't announce it to the world. Announcements invite challenges. Standards are proven by behavior, not speeches. So you set one internal law: I don't surrender command for pleasure. That law becomes your filter. If an event requires intoxication to be tolerable, the event is trash. If friendships collapse without alcohol, the friendships were dependence, not loyalty. If you feel boring without alcohol, you were never interesting, only uninhibited. That's the brutal cleansing process. And it's why this is identity death. You will lose access to certain people, certain nights, certain rituals. Good. Those were the cages. The replacement identity is simple: a man who stays sharp, a man who stays unreadable, a man who doesn't purchase relief, a man who controls himself even when no one would blame him for slipping. That man doesn't just avoid alcohol, he becomes difficult to manipulate. Here's the final warning: alcohol doesn't ruin most men through addiction. It ruins them through erosion. A little less discipline, a little less clarity, a little more tolerance for bad environments, a little more need for external relief, a little more public leakage. And then one day the man looks up and realizes he's not living a life, he's managing damage. That's how it happens. Not with tragedy, with routine. And the routine is socially blessed. That's why it's lethal. Society doesn't need to attack you directly when it can get you to weaken yourself voluntarily and call it normal. The Machiavellian truth is cold. A man who drinks to cope is announcing he can be governed. Governed by stress, governed by boredom, governed by the tribe's approval, governed by cravings, governed by the next escape. That man becomes predictable, and predictable men are the easiest to exploit because you don't need to break them, you just need to tempt them. The last deception: I'm still in control. Most men who are losing control say the same sentence because they confuse "I can still function" with "I am sovereign." Functioning is not sovereignty. Plenty of slaves function. Plenty of prisoners function. Plenty of exploited men function. They go to work. They pay bills. They show up. They survive. Sovereignty is different. Sovereignty is: your decisions are not purchased by mood, tribe, or appetite, and alcohol is a purchase. You pay with sharpness. You pay with sleep. You pay with judgment. You pay with reputation. You pay with the quiet strength of knowing you can withstand pressure without a chemical crutch. Predators don't hate you, they harvest you. Understand the predator's attitude. It's not emotional, it's practical. They don't sit there thinking, "I want to destroy him." They think, "What can I extract from him?" From a drinker, they extract information, confessions, vulnerabilities, loose talk, access. You stay longer, you comply more mistakes. You create your own scandal, money. You spend more, waste more, reputation damage. You do the work for them. That's why drinking culture is a predator's paradise. It's a room full of men volunteering to become less dangerous. And the worst part is the moral inversion. They call restraint boring. They call discipline insecure. They call sobriety trying too hard. They call leakage authentic. It's upside down on purpose. Because if you can be shamed out of your standards, you don't have standards. You have preferences, and preferences collapse under social heat. The final choice: pleasure governance versus sovereign governance. There are only two paths. Path 1. Pleasure governance: you keep drinking because it smooths the edges. You stay socially acceptable. You keep your little rituals. You buy your relief. You leak in small ways. You recover. You repeat. Nothing dramatic happens until it does. And when it does, you'll tell yourself it was bad luck, a mistake, a one-time slip, a misunderstanding. But it wasn't. It was the bill arriving after years of payments. Path 2. Sovereign governance: you refuse to be managed through pleasure. You build a system. You control terrain. You decline without explanation. You stay sharp when others soften. You become unreadable. Then something changes. People stop testing you. The pressure reduces. Your confidence stops being emotional and becomes structural. You stop needing a break because your life stops being built around escape. That's not a self-help fantasy. That's a strategic outcome. If this hit you, don't agree. Agreement is cheap. Prove it. For the next 30 days, don't drink, not as a health experiment, not as a detox, as a sovereignty test, to see how much of your social life is real and how much is addiction disguised as culture. Then write one word in the comments: sovereign. Not because you feel inspired, because you're done being governable.